Imagine this, you are 65, your wife tells you she needs more quality time, your grandchildren are growing up without your company, and your friends are enjoying their retirement, traveling, spending time with family, and you're trapped by your financial decisions. Imagine working every day until the grave because you don't like or think that taking care of your finances is important. It's hard, and bringing to my reality, if I wanted, I could stop working today. This gives me freedom to do what I really want to achieve my purpose, and my purpose at the moment is to help as many people as possible become rich. So I want you to follow the same path and also have freedom. That's why in this video, first, I will help you calculate how much you need to retire. Then let's talk a little about savings. And then we'll discuss your income and how quickly you can realistically reach your goal. At the end, I'll give you 3 tips to make this whole process easier. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment just below. I always answer all of you guys. Let's start by step 1, how much you need to retire. If you decide to retire, I know you want that money to last forever, or at least until you leave this world. To achieve this, there is one rule you cannot break: the 4% rule. This rule essentially states that you can withdraw 4% of your investment portfolio each year without running out of money entirely. For example, if you have a $500,000 investment portfolio, you can safely spend 4% of that yearly, which means you can spend $20,000. If your portfolio is worth $1 million, you can spend $40K each year, and so on. The idea is that managed this way, your portfolio can beat inflation and continue to grow over time. It's important to remember that the biggest factor in determining how much you need to save is how much you plan to spend in the future. If you want to live a simple life in the countryside with a vegetable garden, your cost of living will be one thing. If you want to throw dollars out of the window while staying at a hotel in Dubai, the cost will be quite different. And just to give you an example and make it clearer, what I would say for those who still don't understand much about investments is to invest in index funds like VTI and VTSAX because they have proven themselves over time. It's a peaceful investment. You won't need to pick stocks, and it's very difficult to beat the market in general. As the point of this video is not to delve into investments, but rather about retirement, I will invite you to subscribe to the channel and watch my old videos to learn more about investments. In other videos, I intend to teach you how to make money even while sleeping. But in this video, we are just going to estimate how much you would need to invest to never worry again. Now, going to the mathematics of how much you need to retire, and considering that we are going to use the 4% rule, you will basically calculate your monthly expenses and multiply them by 25. Why? Because if you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year, then dividing 100% by 4% gives you 25. And I don't want you to think only about the biggest expenses. Think about taxes, think about the coffee you buy on the street, birthday presents, think about everything. Get your credit card statement, because many make the mistake of only calculating the basics, such as transportation, rent, but no one lives on that alone. And just to illustrate the math, let's imagine your annual spending is 50K. 50K times 25 equals 1,250,000. That's our goal. It's simple. I don't want you to think it's about complicated mathematics or a big deal. Now we can move to the second step. Step 2. Savings and savings rate. Alright, let's get into the math of how your savings rate directly affects your working years until retirement. This isn't just about saving randomly, it's a numbers game. Imagine this: the higher your savings rate, the faster you can build your investment portfolio and the fewer years you have to work. Let me explain. First, let's talk about what your savings rate is. It's the percentage of your income that you're saving every month. Here's the formula. Savings rate equal money saved divided by total income times 100. Imagine you earn $5K a month and you save $1K of that income each month. So using the formula, we divide 1,000 by 5,000, which gives us 0.2. Then we multiply 0.2 by 100, and that gives us a savings rate of 20%. In this case, you're saving 20% of your total income every month. It's very simple, right? Now, how does this translate into the number of years until retirement? There's a simple relationship here. The more you save, the fewer years you need to work, because you not only have more money invested, but you're also use it to live on less. Here's a quick example. If you save 10% of your income, it will take around 51 years to retire, assuming you start from scratch and invest your savings with a reasonable rate of return. But if you can push your savings rate to 50%, you only need about 17 years to retire. Why? Because you're living on half your income, so you only need half as much wealth to sustain you. The math works like this. If your savings rate is 10%, you're spending 90% of your income. You need to accumulate 25 times your annual spending, based on the 4% rule, to retire. With a lower savings rate, it takes longer to build up this amount. But if your savings rate is 50%, you're only spending half of your income. This means you need much less to retire, and since you're saving aggressively, you're building up your investment portfolio much faster. Here's the formula to estimate years until retirement. Years until retirement equals 1 divided by savings rate minus 1. And now let's break down examples. If you save 10% of your income, you're spending 90% of it. Using the formula, 1 divided by 0.1 minus 1 equals 9. It will take you approximately 9 years of saving to accumulate 1 year's worth of living expenses. Therefore, it takes around 51 years to retire. If you save 50% of your income, you're spending the other 50%. So using the formula, 1 divided by 0.5 minus 1 equals 1. So it will take you just 1 year of saving to accumulate 1 year's worth of living expenses. Therefore, you can retire in about 17 years. If you save 70% of your income, that's crazy, I know, but you're spending only 30%, and using the formula, 1 divided by 0.7 minus 1 equals 0.43. This means it will take you less than 5 years to retire if your savings rate is extremely high. It's simple math, but it can completely change your financial future. So your goal should be to keep pushing that savings rate higher, higher, and higher. And you might be thinking, wow, it's over for me. I'll never make it. My money doesn't even cover the monthly bills. How am I going to save 30% or 70%? And next up, let's talk about how to boost your income to make this process even faster. So now comes step 3, how to increase your income. At the beginning of my career, I was a bartender. I was rejected from interviews by literally every bank. I earned very little, and I had to work miracles with that little to be able to invest. The reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to know that it's possible. I went from nothing to a multimillionaire in a few years in an emerging country. And how did I do this? I started my own business while investing. So this is possibility number 1, and I will present one other. But the secret of having your own business is that it can increase your income a lot. And I want you to have this experience just to test 1 day of entrepreneurship. Go to the market, spend everything on cake ingredients. Spend the day making cakes and sell them to all your neighbors. Preferably show up close to lunch, where you will be most hungry. Sell it for twice its cost and we will have $2,000. How about that? Thus, your client will pay $1,000 for 1 day of work. Meanwhile, your conventional job will pay you $120. It's a little risky to have your own business, but if you can do it right, you can't go wrong. The possibility number 2 is move out of state. Seek opportunities wherever they are. I'll give you a very good practical example. In Tennessee, a teacher earns approximately $53,000 per year. In Massachusetts, a teacher earns around $88K. Do you see how much more money it is? You can earn more just by changing states, and it's crazy. This also fits for people who are from emerging countries like myself. It may be that by moving from India to the United States, you find more possibilities. Of course, being an immigrant is very difficult and has several associated challenges, but this is something that can be thought about and planned. And with the internet, remote work, you can perfectly work without moving to a foreign company, earning in a stronger currency. It's important that you step out of the box and think about all the possibilities. And also, there are many possibilities to increase your income, such as changing jobs, generating more value by studying more, and I can make a video just about that. So comment if you are interested. And okay, let's move on to the final topic of this video, because now I'll give you tips that I wish I had heard at 20 when I had nothing. Here's 3 tips to retire as soon as possible. The first tip is avoid debt. Really, avoid that. One of the most effective ways to accelerate your path to early retirement is by avoiding debt. Debt, especially high-interest debt, is like an anchor holding you back from financial freedom. Let me explain. If you're paying 15 to 25% interest on credit card debt, that's a huge drain on your finances. Here's a real example. Imagine you have 20K in credit card debt with a 20% interest rate. After 1 year, your debt grows from 20K to approximately 24K. But after 5 years, your debt increases to about 53.9K. And after 10 years, your debt balloons to around 145K. After 20 years, it's crazy because your debt would skyrocket to approximately $1 million if you only pay the interest and never reduce the principal. Now, consider what happens if you pay off the debt and instead invest an initial 20K and then add 1K every month at a 12% annual return over 20 years. Because if you do it, your investment could grow to approximately 1,182K. That's the power of redirecting money from debt to wealth building. The second tip is be consistent in your saving. Think about 2 brothers, John and Paul. Both earn 5K per month, but while John invests 10% of his salary every month, that's 500, Paul prefers to save up and invest everything in one big lump sum at the end of the year. While John invests 10% every month, Paul will end up investing a bit more than his brother at the end of the year. Here's what that looks like. John invests 500 each month, 10% of his salary, which adds up to 6K over the course of the year. Meanwhile, Paul invests 6.5K all at once at the end of the year, as if he made an extra contribution compared to John. If both invest with the same return rate of 1% per month, who do you think will have a greater return in the long run? So let's see. After 5 years, John would have 40K while Paul would have 41K. After 10 years, John would have 115K when Paul 116K. In 20 years, John would have 494K against 497K. And after 30 years, John would have 1,747K while Paul would have 1,735K. So, even though John contributed 180K over 30 years and Paul contributed 195K, John will end up with more money simply because he invested consistently every month. John invested 180K and built 1,747K in wealth. Paul invested 195K and built 1,735K in wealth. It's like the old saying, consistent saving is worth more than saving a lot all at once. And the third tip, finally, is reverse the order. There's a study from Columbia University that analyzed the eating habits of almost 1,200 adults across 8 different countries and found something quite interesting. Most people consume about 92% of the food they put on their plates. So let's say you go to a buffet and make a plate with 300 grams of food. On average, people will eat 276 grams. If you put 400 grams, those same people will eat 368 grams. And if you put 500 grams, they'll eat 460 grams. This shows that, in a way, humans aren't wired to save but to consume. The same logic applies to money. When the paycheck hits the account, most people end up spending as much as they can. So what do you need to do? Develop the habit of reversing the order. Instead of investing what's left over after spending, the ideal approach is to spend what's left after investing. Here's how you do it. When your paycheck hits your account, set aside a portion for investments. Automate your investments and set up an automatic transfer every month. And finally, spend what's left and organize your budget accordingly. And well, that's it, cousins. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you can benefit from the knowledge I left here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to this channel because I promise I will respond to everyone. See you soon.